Good morning, YouTube. I saw an article on the drive that is really grinding my gears here, and I know it's going to make you mad as well.
Yeah.
The title is Laguna Seca Sued by Rich Neighbors for Being a Racetrack.
Is this like a real website you found it from?
No, very much. The Drive is a very big car enthusiast website, and this is a very real thing. So on December 12th, a group of people surrounding the legendary Laguna Seca racetrack have banded together, gotten lawyers, and they have a mission of shutting down the track for good. And they think they have some real legal merit to do so.
You're serious about this,
Yes.
though? It's not like some joke or try to get clickbait or anything like that?
The real deal.
Because this track has been here for a long time. It's not like you're buying property around it and you don't know it exists.
So Laguna Seca was opened in 1957. They used to have the race on Pebble Beach, on 17 Mile Drive, which was crazy, sort of like the Ferrari movie with the Mila Mia, only nobody died, which is a miracle.
Yeah.
But the race was ended when someone was really hurt. They slammed their Ferrari into a tree.
Oh, okay.
Those big cypress trees. If you ever driven around Pebble Beach or 17 Mile Drive, they're everywhere. How people would drive 100+ miles an hour with that. I mean, like trees right here, road, tree. There's no guardrail. It would be insane.
That's skill. That's why race car drivers are professional athletes and have a skill that none of us really have.
Well, and back then they were just crazy.
True.
Absolutely crazy. So they opened Laguna Seca in 1957. That's how long this track has been here, and it is one of the most beautiful tracks in the world.
It is like the most sacred track in America. Of course, there's Daytona and the Rolex, but Laguna Seca, that's my favorite track with that corkscrew and the elevation changes. Like, that is so fun to watch because there's so many tracks that are very flat, so it's hard to see. And this one's very spread out, and there's a lot of inclines. And so it's just a great track to watch a race on, let alone it being on that track. I know you've driven on it before.
Yes, absolutely. So I drove my Countach on the track. Yes, it was the 50th anniversary of the Lamborghini Countach. It was during the Monterey Historic Races, and they let us go out for a parade lap. It was supposed to be a parade lap, but then the guy who was leading us floored it, so we all got to go very fast in our aged Italian cars.
How many cars? Because I'd be so nervous that there'd be a little wreck.
It was about 50 Countaches, and it was a short drive from Santa Cruz all the way down to Monterey. So I think it was about 100 miles or so. But of those 50 cars, I think it was about 5 of them broke.
Oh,
so not bad for old Italian cars, but yeah, a lot of them broke. But the end, like the biggest crowning achievement was to make it to Laguna Seca and drive on the track in between the heats of all the historic cars.
Right. Is there like passing? Are you guys like, okay, we're not going to pass, we're just going to play it safe?
No, other than the speed, it was very ordinary. No passing, none of that kind of stuff. Thankfully, all the people in front of me wanted to go fast, so we went fast. But I've been going for many years to the historic races. It is about my favorite racing event to go to, because you get to travel through time with automobile racing, starting with pre-war cars, and they go out and they're maybe going 80 miles an hour. 100 would be a miracle in these cars. And they come off and they're leaking from everywhere, just oozing, dripping, falling apart. Things break and they're hammering it all back together. It's so cool to see all the way up until the 70s and 80s. You get to see all those Shelbys race and the Ferraris, and then there's the Trans Am cars, which Mike Joyer, counterpart on Barrett Jackson, drives. So cool to see. But all that needs to be shut down. All of it.
I feel like I don't think they're actually going to be able to shut it down. How can you shut down such a beautiful landmark like Laguna Seca?
I know you've been around with Mario Andretti and your neck thing. You've told that story before, right?
Yeah, I did. I rode in a modified Indy car, the 2-seated modified. And behind Mario Andretti, I sat, and he was able to keep his neck up and head up. But when we were going around these, little hairpin corkscrews and all that stuff, and my neck's not strong enough to keep my head up in those G-forces and the centrifugal force, and I'm just like, boom, boom.
Yeah, well, and also if you don't anticipate, and the first couple of times when it surprises you, then your neck gets worn out.
Yeah. So, did you find it any part difficult to drive?
It was just one lap. So I've been around the track in an SLS AMG Black Series too. And I think it was Tommy Kendall who drove me.
Oh, I love Tommy Kendall.
Yes. So I got to do that, and I do know what you're talking about, but it is so much. It's an amazing track. Just the views, like you said, and being able to see so much going on racing-wise if you go to the top of the hill where the corkscrew is, and then you can see almost the whole track. It's just so cool. But there are reasons for shutting it down.
Right.
Here we go. Now, this is according to the Highway 68 Coalition, a group of homeowners that think that this track is causing them a great harm. This group's legal representation says that Laguna Seca doesn't abide by environmental ordinances,
What?
that racing isn't allowed by zoning laws or the land use permit, and, well, it's a general nuisance and will continue to cause irreparable injury and harm. Yeah.
To the land? Is that what they're talking about?
And them, because of the noise, it's injuring them.
I get their first argument could be noise pollution. Second argument, traffic, because it is a thing to get to the track when there's a race, because there's not really that many entrances, and it just gets backed up for days.
So they've been restricting Laguna Seca over the years. 1983, they were limited to just 35 events a year, 24 with less than 5,000 people, and the cars are limited in decibels. So loud cars, really, really loud cars can't race. Like 105 decibels is the limit. And
What is wrong with you? That's what racing's about. It's
I
that
know.
noise and the visceral feel of everything.
So there is the grandfather clause, and that is the past history of the track. Since 1957, they've been
Right.
racing on there. That's their past history. They want to race on it. But they're saying there's a lot more use of this track now.
Right.
Because of track rentals, people just renting the track and using it for themselves. So that's a way to get around the events. People are renting the track and making their own little mini events.
Right.
And that is how Laguna Seca obviously makes money and stays in business.
Yeah.
But they're saying that's not how the track was used originally. But they don't just want to slow down the racing there. They just want to completely shut it down
But
entirely.
here's the thing with these rich people. I feel like the property value would go down because that's a huge pull to go to Laguna Seca is for the races.
I don't know. People who live out there year-round, I don't think many of them are automobile racers.
Right,
I think
right.
they're up there to just relax and
Right.
enjoy the views, and then there's the noise of the cars in the background. I mean, you can hear it for miles.
Right.
And I
But it puts that town's name on the map. You're repeating it over. That's free publicity for where you live. And so that's where I'm thinking the property value is. It's sort of a marketing thing for their town, for their property value.
Well, I know a lot of them for Monterey Car Week, they just leave.
Right.
And then they Airbnb their mansions for $100,000 for the week.
Oh,
and
I feel so bad for
people
them.
rent them. But it's just so crowded and such a nuisance that they just leave.
Right.
So, yeah.
But there's so many places in America that you can live. Why are you picking on this one area where our sacred track is? Stay away.
Yeah, well, look, I know there's some other arguments in here. So I mentioned that grandfather clause before. That's actually a workaround for them to not have to abide by all the crazy California environmental ordinances,
Right.
which are expansive and
Yeah.
crazy. Same with disability stuff, you know, as far as it making it ADA compatible
Right.
and other things. Like there's so many laws that Laguna Seca on the books in California
Right.
now would break. And if they tried to build this now, there's no way they could. They
Right.
would get shut down for a number of things, a lot of them environmental.
Right.
But this grandfather clause is keeping them in place, and they argue that it shouldn't.
Right.
Like, everybody should abide by these environmental laws,
Yeah.
including Laguna Seca. I don't care how much history it is. It's causing problems to the environment. What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like they're really bored and they have nothing better to do. I know even like random products that you buy, there'll be little warning labels like you can sell this except for in California, and there's certain just ingredients and different, products that you can make that you just can't have in California specifically. There's a million states, well, not a million, there's 50 states, and you can't do so many things in California. They're very strict. I don't know if that's going to bleed into the rest of the country, or we can just kind of draw a little borderline and let California be its own place one day.
Yeah, there's plenty of secession movements in California and even Oregon, the neighboring state, where it's a lot like California in that spot. Like, they want to cut out Portland and that whole coastal area and take the rest of Oregon and put it with Wyoming or something like that,
Yeah.
because the rest of the state is not like
Right.
Oregon and all the problems in Portland and all the issues tax-wise and all that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, the other argument, not enough bathrooms and things. Like, I don't know. So
This is just what, but there's a thing where everything's moving towards electric, zero emissions. And so I feel like one day in the next 10, 20 years, they're going to be like, why do you have all these internal combustion cars just spewing off their fumes in the track? And maybe that next generation is going to say, you're right, because we are all electric. But I don't know where the conversation is going to go. I just feel like all
Right.
these rich people have nothing better to do.
well, I would say the chances are pretty low of this happening
Yeah.
anytime soon, but you never know. I mean, I don't think this would be something that would go to a jury trial or something like that. So if there is one judge that just doesn't get it,
Right.
it could be over for
Right.
Laguna Seca.
So which
is
cars,
crazy.
you're talking about the pre-war cars and Trans Am different, which group do you think creates the most smog, the most emissions, which is the worst?
The Trans Am cars are so loud.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no environmental systems on old race cars or really new race cars at all.
Right.
That's why they are for track use only. And it's
Right.
not like they're making a really substantial, making no difference in the smog or the air
Right.
quality or anything like that.
Right.
So I don't know, but the people obviously coming to the track, the area is actually owned by the state. So they lease the ground to the track. So it's still owned by the state of California.
Right.
And that's the issue.
Right.
Is it's owned by the people, the ground. So the people should get to choose what happens to it, and that's why they're suing.
Right. And then there's another thing where these rich people, they got their private jets that are spewing huge amount of, terrible things into the environment. And that's the other side of it. If we're going to be arguing against emissions and air quality, what are these people doing on their personal time?
Well, good luck, Karen. I hope you fail. But there is a related story to this because Cletus McFarland, he's another YouTuber, he bought a little oval track called the Freedom Factory. And I've actually raced Cletus on that track for a car trek.
Yeah.
And it's a huge place for this YouTube channel where they host live events. It's a safe place to do burnouts, do drifting, do racing, and they're able to do everything in this self-contained facility. It's in Florida, and unfortunately, the neighborhoods are developing all around the track. And they are grandfathered in to make as much noise as they want.
Right.
And he's trying to block the development of these neighborhoods because he knows eventually people are going to have enough.
Right.
And politicians change. Right now, people in power are saying, don't worry, we're going to build all these neighborhoods and things, but we know that how important this is. We know we need to keep it here. It's not going anywhere. But then in 4 years, in 8 years, when the next person comes to be, when they elect the next Karen who lives in that neighborhood that is tired of the noise, then he is ruined. This is a facility that he's poured hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million into, is not worth it to sell and make into houses. So he would lose a massive investment.
That'd be awful. What I keep saying Karen, but what's the guy version of Karen? What is that name?
I just call them male Karens.
Male. Oh, okay, male Karens. That works.
Yeah.
Works.
Right.
I don't know what the answer is, but I know in the future things are going more electric, healthier, safer, but we need to keep Laguna Seca as it is. These historic races are absolutely epic to go see. I know we went this last Monterey to see them, and just even the noise, you love that noise. You love hearing the pack just whip by you, and that's part of the history of racing, and you have to preserve it.
It absolutely never gets old unless, I suppose, you live right by the track.
Well, that'd be a good reason to move there. I would love to live by the track and hear that noise
me
all
too.
the time.
They could sell the houses to us, I suppose. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much for watching. Nobody died, but did some... what, the cat?
Oh, I thought the tail was like...
Yeah. Yeah, the tail's in my single shot, I'm sure, here. But nobody died. Oh, so.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's not funny. Okay,
Right.
I shouldn't be laughing at that.